Dear Leo, my radiant cosmic fire. What if I told you something is about to happen to you that has never happened to anyone else before? Would you believe me if I said the universe has chosen you for a spiritual shift so powerful, it could rewrite everything you thought you knew about your destiny? If you're here now watching this exact message, at this exact time, it's not a coincidence. It's a divine appointment. Something big is coming. And whether it first shows up as chaos or clarity, joy or disruption, it's meant to awaken something ancient and sacred inside of you. I say this with certainty because when I pulled your cards today, Leo, I was genuinely stunned. After decades of working with tarot and astrological energy, I have never seen this exact combination appear the way it did. The Tower. The World. The Ace of Pentacles. Together, they formed a trinity of total collapse, cosmic breakthrough, and unexpected abundance. It's rare beyond rare, and it only appears when a soul is on the brink of a life-altering transformation. What's coming isn't just change. It's rebirth. And this transformation? It has your name written all over it. This energy is not subtle. It's not gentle. It doesn't ask politely. It roars through your life like a solar flare, clearing away what no longer serves, but also making space for something wildly beautiful to enter. You might feel an ending. You might sense a loss. But look deeper. Something much bigger is being orchestrated beneath the surface. Leo, I want you to know, you're not alone in this. You were led here for a reason. You are being called to step forward to take your rightful place as the architect of your own destiny. No one else can walk this path but you. And yet, you are being divinely supported every step of the way. Before we go further, I want to take a heartfelt moment to say thank you. Thank you for showing up with your beautiful, fiery spirit. Thank you for each like, each comment, each time you subscribe and choose to walk this path with us here at Eternal Mindfulness. Your energy keeps this channel alive, and it allows me to continue sharing these sacred messages with you. And Leo, please trust me when I say, you will want to stay until the very end of this reading. What the universe is about to reveal will shake your core in the best possible way. It might even explain why you've been feeling a little off lately, like something's coming, but you just couldn't put your finger on it. Well, this is it. But before we dive in, let me ask you something. Have you felt a sudden pull toward this video, like it was calling to you? Have you noticed signs repeating lately, numbers, dreams, or an inner restlessness? If so, I invite you to confirm your connection right now. Leave a comment below saying, I am ready to receive what's meant for me. That simple act opens an energetic channel. It's your soul's way of saying yes to what's next. So breathe deeply, Leo. Anchor your spirit. And stay close. Because what's unfolding in your life isn't just rare. It's extraordinary. And it's already begun. What happened when the Tower reversed itself and stood beside the World and the Ace of Pentacles wasn't just a rare pull of cards, it was a direct signal from the energetic field surrounding Leo at this very moment. These three cards, as archetypal messengers, carry vibrations of collapse, completion, and creation. When read together, especially in this precise order, they suggest something profoundly transformative. A cosmic reset that may feel like loss on the surface, but, beneath it, offers the beginning of something greater than what you even imagined you deserved. The Tower reverse doesn't scream destruction the way its upright counterpart does. Instead, it whispers of long overdue endings you may have resisted, silent collapses already beginning to unfold in the spaces where your soul has outgrown its circumstances. Perhaps it's a job that no longer reflects who you are, or a relationship whose rhythm has grown out of sync with your deeper values. In any case, the reverse tower suggests that the shift won't strike like lightning from the sky. Rather, it will emerge through an inner realization, a quiet but unshakable truth that you can no longer deny. And then comes the World, the card of cycles closing, wholeness realized, and the soul's return to integration. Together with the Tower, it marks the end of something karmic, a chapter that may have taken years, even lifetimes, to write. What once felt scattered or incomplete is now preparing to dissolve into clarity. The energy here is not only about what ends, but how it ends with grace, completion, and a sense of readiness for what's next. There's a phrase often shared in ancient teachings: when the fruit is ripe, it falls. Nothing is being taken from you before its time. What falls away now is simply what is no longer in alignment with your becoming. And that leads us to the Ace of Pentacles, a new beginning, but not one that arises from fantasy or escapism. This is the kind of beginning rooted in soil, in substance, in something you can build with your hands and nourish with your breath. This ace appears when you are finally ready to receive the material gift of all your inner work. It is the garden waiting to be planted after the storm has passed. But before you can sow new seeds, the ground must be cleared, not in punishment, but in preparation. Astrologically, Uranus moving through Leo's 10th house reinforces this narrative with sharp clarity. The 10th house speaks to legacy, public image, and purpose-driven work. Uranus, the planet of disruption and liberation, doesn't break things to harm, it shatters illusions so that something more authentic can emerge. If your career or reputation has recently been shaken, know that it is not because you're failing, it's because you're being aligned with the version of you that is no longer willing to perform. You're learning to walk away from constructs that have held your fire hostage. Numerology brings in the vibration of the number 16, a sacred number that carries the frequency of breakdown for breakthrough. It asks, what needs to fall so that your life can rise? Even the colors speaking to you now, ruby red and deep gold, are not random. Red is the root, survival, stability, grounding. Gold is the soul, illumination, sovereignty, divine inheritance. Together, they dress the energetic body for resurrection. You are not being punished. You are being purified. So if you feel that something is cracking beneath your feet, don't resist. Don't panic. Sit with it. Witness it. Because it may not be the end. It may be the exact opening your soul has been preparing for. And when you stop clinging to the collapsing tower, you'll realize the doorway has always been behind it. There are certain moments in life when time doesn't move in its usual linear rhythm. It expands, contracts, trembles with intensity, and if you listen closely, you can almost hear it whisper, "Pay attention." For Leo right now, you are standing inside one of those moments. The next 72 hours aren't just a string of days on the calendar, they are a sacred threshold. A cosmic line in the sand where one part of your life prepares to close so something far more aligned, far more luminous, can finally open. In the first 48 hours of this energetic window, there may be a letting go that feels sharper than expected. You may experience something slipping from your grasp, a conversation that ends abruptly, a decision that forces closure, or simply an emotional clarity that you can't unsee. Whether it's the end of a chapter in a relationship, a shift in your role at work, or the quiet release of a long-held belief, it's important to recognize this moment not as a failure or loss, but as a return to truth. The teachings of ancient wisdom remind us that all forms are impermanent. When we hold too tightly to what is changing, suffering arises. But when we allow what wants to leave to go with presence and honesty, we invite peace to enter. Then, as the 72-hour mark approaches, a strange quiet may settle in. This silence isn't empty, it's full of potential. This is the space between stories, the inhale before the next breath of destiny. And it's within this pause that the first light of something new begins to flicker. An unexpected opportunity could present itself, perhaps financial, perhaps relational, but it won't come in flashing lights or with loud fanfare. It will come softly, almost humbly, through a message, a meeting, a decision you didn't expect to make. The sun's energy hums gently in the background here, a reminder that illumination always follows darkness, but not immediately. Sometimes the soil must sit undisturbed before new seeds can break through. This is why this phase isn't just about waiting for change, but preparing for it. Real transformation, after all, doesn't start when the opportunity appears, it begins when the soul creates space for it. So I encourage you now to engage in simple, meaningful rituals that align your outer world with the shifts happening inside. Light a candle and sit quietly in white light visualization for 5 minutes each morning. Place your hand on your heart and write the words, "I am ready for my life to change." Clear out a corner of your room that has felt stagnant. Let go of an object or contact that no longer feels true to who you are becoming. These aren't just symbolic gestures, they are invitations. They signal to the universe that you are not passively waiting, but actively co-creating. And if you've been carrying the sense that something in your life is about to rupture, a deep, almost indescribable tension, you're not imagining it. What you're feeling is the pressure of unexpressed truth meeting the limits of old patterns. But what happens when pressure builds beyond its container? It doesn't just destroy, it liberates. What looks like a breakdown may actually be the final push needed to crack open the next version of you. If this resonates, I invite you to write in the comments below, "I'm ready to move through the shock and receive the blessing." Let this be your declaration, not to me, but to yourself. When you do, you anchor your experience into intention. You become the participant, not the observer, of your transformation. And you remind yourself that sometimes, what feels like an ending is really the first moment of something extraordinary. When energy begins to rise within us, when we start to detach from old stories, patterns, and roles, there's a silent shift that not everyone around us will celebrate. And perhaps that's the most uncomfortable truth to face in this moment, Leo. Growth doesn't always bring applause. Sometimes, it triggers resistance from those who've benefited from our former limitations. The Five of Swords and the Devil appear here not as warnings to make you afraid, but as reminders to be aware. These two cards are not about external enemies in the literal sense, but energetic dynamics that have quietly bound you to people, habits, or environments that no longer align with who you're becoming. The Five of Swords often surfaces during a time of silent battles, unspoken competition, subtle manipulation, or tension that simmers beneath polite interactions. It can represent situations where you're being pulled into someone else's drama, or where others seem to resent your light even if they don't say it outright. Paired with the Devil, the message becomes clear. There may be attachments around you that are draining, controlling, or toxic, not because these individuals are inherently bad, but because the version of you they're attached to no longer exists. In this moment, you are untangling. The shift you're experiencing is not just internal, it's energetic. And when your frequency rises, those who are not ready to elevate with you may feel left behind. That discomfort can manifest as jealousy, passive aggression, or sudden distance. They may not understand it consciously, but they can feel the vibration shifting. And sometimes, what people can't control, they try to suppress. Here's the key, Leo: you don't need to confront, argue, or explain. In the same way the sun doesn't apologize for shining, you are not required to justify your evolution. Instead, protect your energy with quiet clarity. Surround yourself with the intention of golden light, of visualization where your entire being is wrapped in warmth, radiance, and sovereign space. This is not to block others out, but to keep your field intact, grounded, and unshaken. Just as one would light a candle not to curse the dark but to remember their own power, small rituals like this are acts of self-respect. One simple practice that holds deep symbolic meaning: light a white candle for 3 consecutive nights. During each evening, write down the names or energies of those relationships or dynamics that feel heavy, confusing, or draining. Then, with calm attention, say aloud, "I release this with peace. I reclaim my space." You're not wishing harm, you're allowing healing. You're choosing liberation over obligation. What's happening now is a returning of power. Not as domination over others, but as clarity within yourself. The voice that says, "I don't have to carry what isn't mine anymore." This is not rebellion, it's restoration. And it's in harmony with one of the most timeless teachings, that freedom arises not when we destroy what binds us, but when we stop clinging to it. So if you've been feeling a certain tightness around someone, a sense that being near them leaves you tired, anxious, or even doubting yourself, this may be your signal. Not to fight them, but to choose peace. To choose self-respect. Because the truth is, Leo, they're not losing you. They're losing access to the part of you that needed their approval. If this speaks to you, I invite you to comment now. I do not belong to anyone's control. This affirmation is not just a sentence, it's an energetic boundary. It's a reminder that your life, your energy, and your light are yours to guide, not anyone else's to dim. As the energy begins to settle after the emotional turbulence of release and protection, something remarkable begins to stir: the unmistakable presence of opportunity. Not theoretical, not abstract, but tangible and real. When the Ace of Pentacles appears alongside the Knight of Wands, it signals a rare and exciting convergence of grounded abundance and fast-moving action. This is not the kind of financial promise that drifts in over time with gentle ease. It is the kind that catches you off guard, like an unexpected offer, a message in your inbox you almost missed, or someone reaching out with a proposition that sparks something deep in your gut. You may be tempted to second-guess it, to overthink or assume it's too good to be true. But this moment doesn't ask for perfection, it asks for attention. There is a window of acceleration here that doesn't often last. The Knight of Wands moves quickly, and the Ace of Pentacles doesn't stay buried forever. It wants to be planted, watered, and used. You are being invited to act not out of pressure, but out of clarity. And if clarity feels just out of reach, this is where your inner compass becomes essential. One of the most useful teachings from ancient wisdom traditions reminds us that right action doesn't always arise from logic. It arises from stillness, from knowing, from that bright flash in your mind or that warm expansion in your chest when something feels aligned, even if it doesn't make perfect sense yet. So ask yourself gently, where have I been hesitating to say yes, not because it's wrong, but because it's unfamiliar? It may be a job you never thought you'd enjoy but are suddenly curious about. It may be a side hustle that felt beneath your potential but now appears as a stepping stone. Or maybe it's the courage to finally charge for a skill you've always given away for free. The shape of this opportunity isn't as important as the energy it holds: momentum, confidence, and the kind of financial blessing that comes when you dare to step into the unknown with your eyes open. Now is a beautiful time to create rituals that support clarity and flow. One practice is to take 10 minutes at the start of your day to review your messages, opportunities, or invitations with soft focus. Don't just look for what's urgent, look for what lights something in you, even subtly. Keep a journal close by and write down 3 things that feel worth exploring, even if you're unsure. And then, equally important, act on one. A simple reply, a follow-up message, or even scheduling a call can signal to life that you're ready to receive. The colors speaking to you now are jade green and bright amber, a combination that activates both the heart and the sacral center. Jade green encourages balanced decision-making, especially when it comes to aligning values with finances. Amber supports courageous action and creative flow. You don't need to know every step ahead. You only need to respond when life knocks. And if you've been silently wishing for help to pay off something urgent, to support a dream, or simply to feel like things are moving again, then say it. Write it. Declare it in the comments. Here's what I need money for. This isn't begging. It's alignment. Because when you name the need, you open the channel. You stop waiting and start co-creating. And this very wave of abundance, it may already be closer than you think. After waves of upheaval and unexpected openings, a different kind of energy begins to emerge, one that is quieter, more inward, yet deeply powerful. It's the kind of shift that doesn't announce itself loudly, but makes itself known in the subtlest of ways. A strange dream that lingers for days, an image flashing across your mind with no context, or the sudden feeling that something is about to happen even when all appears calm. When the star appears with the High Priestess, the message is clear. You're not meant to understand everything with your mind right now. You're meant to listen with something much older, much wiser, something that lives beyond the noise of reason. Moments of awakening rarely come dressed as triumph. More often, they arrive through loss, confusion, or change, the very moments we tend to resist. But within these experiences lies the invitation to access a deeper clarity, one that doesn't come from logic or evidence but from the direct knowingness that all things are connected, and that the answers you seek are already within you. The purpose of the initial shock wasn't just to shake your external world, it was to loosen the grip of distraction, so you could finally hear what your inner world has been trying to say for years. This kind of inner listening doesn't require rituals or beliefs. It only asks for stillness and attention. When we talk about intuition, we're not speaking of magic, we're speaking of a faculty that all beings possess but few trust. It's the gentle awareness that arises when we stop forcing, when we sit quietly enough to feel life moving through us. The wisdom traditions teach that our thoughts are like clouds, and beneath them is a sky of spacious, radiant knowing. Most of us live at the level of the clouds. But right now, Leo, you're being invited to rest in the sky. One of the most powerful ways to begin strengthening this connection is to treat your dreams as messages, not just mental residue. Upon waking, take a moment before your phone, before the day pulls you out, to write down what you remember. Even fragments. Even nonsense. Especially nonsense. Over time, you'll begin to see patterns. Symbols. Nudges from the unconscious pointing towards something important. This isn't superstition, it's awareness. You might also notice soft sensations in your body that seem to speak louder than any voice, tightness when something isn't right, warmth when it is. These are not random. The body carries ancient intelligence. Listening to it is a practice of self-respect. And when you feel those subtle internal shifts, the ones you can't quite explain but know you can't ignore, that's the quiet language of the life force moving through you. That's the beginning of real guidance. Writing the sentence, "I am ready to hear my soul," 3 times a day is not about affirming a wish. It's about deepening a relationship with yourself. It's a conversation you begin not with the world outside, but with the part of you that's never been broken, never been confused, never been lost. That part of you already knows where to go next. It's been waiting for silence to be heard. So if you've ever had a dream that turned out to be true, or a gut feeling that saved you from making a mistake, I invite you to share it in the comments. Let others witness the quiet power that lives in all of us. In doing so, you remind yourself and this community that we are all deeply connected, not just to one another, but to the invisible rhythm that moves through everything. And the more we listen, the more clearly it speaks. If you're still here, Leo, still breathing with me through this journey, still holding space for every wave that rose and crashed, then I want you to know something sacred has already begun. You didn't run from the discomfort. You didn't scroll past the signs. You listened. And in the eyes of the universe, that alone is a powerful act of courage. Storms don't chase those who are afraid, they come for those whose souls are ready to awaken. Everything you felt building, the tension, the urgency, the strange synchronicities, was never meant to break you. It was meant to guide you back to your own truth. And yes, sometimes that guidance looks like confusion, like endings, like a quiet unraveling of all the things you thought would hold you. But the truth is, Leo, only someone with your fire could be trusted to walk through that level of release. Only someone with your strength could be entrusted with the weight of this kind of transformation. And now, after everything you've moved through emotionally, energetically, spiritually, you stand before a doorway that was always yours. Not given. Not earned. But destined. This is the moment the universe has been quietly preparing you for. Not to test you, not to break you, but to remind you of who you are without the noise, a being of direction, of intuition, of purpose. You are not meant to be a background character in your own story. You are here to lead, to shine, to spark change in yourself and in others. So ask yourself now, honestly and without fear, what would shift in your life if you believed you were already worthy of the life you secretly dream of? What decision would you finally make if you knew, deep in your body, that the wind is already behind your back? What would happen if you allowed the shakeups to serve you instead of scare you? Because the path isn't always calm. But it is always meaningful. Leo, you were never meant to live small. You were never designed to stay hidden. The pain you felt was never punishment, it was preparation. And now, what looked like destruction might actually have been the exact force needed to clear the way for your rebirth. You are not here to be shaped by others. You are here to reclaim your shape, your pace, your flame. And whether the outside world understands it or not, the fire within you already does. If this message stirred something inside of you, I invite you to make a sacred promise to yourself right now. Write in the comments, "I am ready to step into the turning point of my destiny." Let those words anchor you. Let them ripple across this space like a quiet but unshakable roar. If this reading has helped you find clarity or hope today, please take a moment to like this video. It's not just support, it's a signal. A choice. A spark that tells the universe, I'm ready to act. And if you haven't yet, I'd be honored if you joined our circle by subscribing to Eternal Mindfulness. Here, we don't just interpret astrology, you awaken with it. We don't just read energy, or move with it. Thank you, truly, from the bottom of my heart, for your presence here today. Your energy, your openness, your fire, it fuels this space more than you know. And Leo, remember this, a lion doesn't fear the thunder. Because even the loudest storm cannot dim the brilliance of the sun. And you, beloved, are that sun.